What's up, Amazon sellers? If you're thinking about getting started on wholesale in 2022, there might be a lot of questions and a lot of things you're seeing you've got to do. Well, this video is going to share you some of the things you really don't need to worry about so much. I'm here with Eamonn Mccaffrey from Untitled Entrepreneur, a wholesale Amazon seller for many years, and he's going to share what we need to not worry so much about. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so today I am here to learn about maybe some of the things I shouldn't really be worrying about and actually start taking action towards my wholesale business. And I'm here with Eamonn Mccaffrey from Untitled Entrepreneur. Eamonn, thank you so much for joining me in my hotel room. And I just want to say, thank you for taking time out and obviously having a chat with me today to learn about this. Wholesale is something that I'm interested in, especially in 2022. Quick question for you. If anyone doesn't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and let us know?
My name is Eamonn Mccaffrey. I am from Northern Ireland. I am 35 in 3 weeks' time, which is terrible. I used to be a teacher, so I have several degrees, and now I'm don't use any of them. Been selling on Amazon since August 17. Started out RA journey. I was like, this is wick. I can't make any scale progress. Went into wholesale. Absolutely love it. I have a team of 6 in the Philippines and Pakistan. And between 2 prep centres in the UK and my own warehouse and staff in Northern Ireland, I think there's days where there's maybe 10 to 15 people working in my business, which is incredible.
My God, wow. Honestly, a lot there to unpack. So let's just kind of break it down. Let's just kind of understand where you are right now. So you've talked about you're doing wholesale, you've done RA in the past. Are you doing 100% wholesale now or are you still doing RA?
No, well, it depends the time of the year. So the obvious seasonal items, confectionery from the big multiples, they sell them as the loss leaders. You cannot get them cheaper from wholesale. It makes sense to go around the big multiples, i.e. Tesco's, Asda, and collect those items. I still do OA because it's a lovely passive income and it gives me new ideas and leads for wholesale. I'd say at the minute I'm about 70-80% wholesale. Looking back, run a report on Amazon, the best sellers over the last couple of quarters, at least 8 out of the top 10 are all wholesale items.
Interesting. Okay, fantastic. And you talked about you got 6 abroad. Sometimes you have 15 in your business at all time working. That's like the 6 abroad plus maybe like 9 in the warehouse. So sometimes you scale up obviously quite a lot and sometimes not so many.
Yeah, that is more for logistics. So Brexit, end of last year, was challenging for Northern Ireland sellers simply because Amazon wouldn't return items to Northern Ireland and a lot of OA suppliers wouldn't ship to Northern Ireland. So you're like, either you stop sourcing those items and leave food on the table or you diversify and overcome. So I have 2 prep centres that I use in the UK. I don't publicise who they are simply because we have a nice little dynamic going. They're not actively looking new clients and it works. And then in my own warehouse, I have 2 staff that work 2 days a week. And then these other days where there could be 5 or 6 in it if we have a push on to get big wholesale orders out the door.
Fantastic work. So obviously the ability to scale as well. So question for you, are you happy to share like top line revenue just to give an idea of the scale of the business that you're doing?
So started out RA and my first quarter of selling, I did 20,000 in the quarter and I thought I was top dog. Now I'm rather annoyed that I set out a goal this year of 750,000 and I'm just going to come in just shy of that. And I'm blaming that simply on storage issues in July. In the last month alone, I've done 100K. So things are really starting to pick up now. I'm getting momentum back again. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. So definitely, obviously, you're looking just shy. I think, you talk 750, but just coming shy of that, but actually even 6 figures in 1 month. And that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Absolutely fantastic. And you're talking now, you're also saying about 80% of your revenue is from wholesale. Majority of the top sellers are from wholesale, but also as well, we all know it. There's always opportunities elsewhere, and you're a businessman. You're here to make money. RA, OA, you're not going to turn down money at the end of the day. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Do it. It's fantastic. So obviously, we are here today to learn about 3 things or misconceptions about the wholesale business model. Myself, I'm looking to get into wholesale in 2022, and I'm sure many other people are. They're also watching lots of videos like myself, learning all the things we need to do. But what I'm interested to learn about is my God, it's easy to build a list of everything we need to do. What are some of the things that actually we shouldn't really be worrying about, or maybe we look too much like this has to be perfect? What are those 3 common misconceptions with wholesale?
Well, I do have 3, but the first one I'm going to preface is don't be listening to everything you see on the internet. I have done a lot of research around wholesale myself, and one of the things I've noticed is gurus who really don't know what they're talking about. So I'm going to actually say it's 4 things, because one of them is definitely do not listen to people that aren't even doing it telling you what you should be doing. So much bad information. That's going to be my first one. Get quality information. Trust your gut. Heard an item recently where somebody was told you should be selling 5 years before you consider wholesale. I've also been told just get another company to buy the stock for you, which I don't know how you would sort out invoices and VAT returns in that one. It's crazy some of the information you see out there. But my first big one would be everybody says you need a website and you need a brand. I have a website as of last week. I threw it together in half an hour. It's pathetic. Technically, I have one and a domain. I've been doing wholesale now 2.5, 3 years. I've never had a website before that.
Wow.
I get asked tons, do you have a website? Yeah, it's under construction. Get it over to you. Thanks. See, once you start paying them the money and they aren't causing problems for them, they don't care about your website. Wholesalers are there to sell. They have target revenues to hit. If you're saying, okay, I'm going to slap 10 grand down on the table, they're going to listen.
Okay, so let's just bring it back.
Yep.
Because you've talked about 2 there. You've given us an extra bonus one, should we say?
Sorry.
You said just be careful. The gurus choose who you listen to. Be very careful about who you choose to listen to. Question for you: what's the criteria? How can they qualify that this person knows what they're talking about, this person doesn't? How would you understand that?
That's a very hard one to identify because there's so many people that look very genuine on the internet. How do you know who to speak to? What I would advise is absorb it all and then go with what seems to be the most reasonable. Trust your gut. Speaking to Lloyd last night, and he said the biggest mistakes he made in the last year in his business was not trusting his gut feelings earlier. So your subconscious is there to try and protect you. Listen to it. If something looks too good to be true, it possibly is. People will hype things up for clicks and reviews. They do. And ask yourself, what are they getting out of this? Are they selling you a course? Yes, I sell courses, but I'm talking to talk. I don't really hide myself too much. I've had tons of Amazon sellers in my warehouse. I will happily tour people around what I'm doing. I'm fully transparent as much as I can be without giving away my best leads. But you see a lot of sellers and you're like, oh, I've it all outsourced, you can't say anything. And you're like, what are you actually doing? So be a little bit suspicious, try and get evidence, listen to everybody, and then make your own judgment on it. At the end of the day, it's your business. You have to be making the decisions. And yeah, take information in online, but make your own assessments.
Fantastic, cool. And I think the takeaway for me from that is look at the person you're taking the information from, look at, should we say, how transparent they are.
Yeah.
And I think the other question you might ask is, ask some questions about their business. And if they talk about it and share, like you said, I'll share everything like apart from my best leads. And of course you wouldn't want to,
yeah.
But if that person's happy to share and talk about the business, then you're like, this guy's quite open. And also as well, by being open, you create accountability and people can call you out. So what you'll see with a lot of, should we say, gurus is they won't talk about the business. They only talk about what they want to talk about. They won't have a dialogue. Yeah. And I think that's something really interesting. So thank you for that kind of bonus tip. And my God, you put that at the front, not at the end. That should be the last one. So obviously you come in like point 1, and we could call it point 2 or point 1, is you're saying you don't need a website. It really doesn't matter. Now, question I'm going to ask you is, I'm going to a wholesaler and I'm on the call, or I'm like, hey, I want to try and open an account with you. And they're like, can you send us more information? Can you send us your website? How do you deal with that objection? Because obviously you haven't got one.
Yeah. Sometimes I would just say full transparency. I don't use one. I sell on multiple platforms and it's never been a focus. You can sometimes say it's under construction and here is the link to my Amazon website or profile page, and they're happy with that. Sometimes they'll ask you for that instead of a website. I have noticed that some suppliers seem to be very insistent on it, and it has knocked me back before. I see that becoming a lot more common now, which is why I did start considering one. But for a lot of suppliers I'm dealing with, they simply don't care. Like, yes, they want to know who you are. Like, I'm a limited company, I'm VAT registered. I've got a decent enough online presence that if they want to do their homework on me, they find out who I am as a person. But the website's always just to get a suss out who you are, what you're selling, that sort of thing. Once you start talking passionately about what you're selling, once you start name dropping other suppliers and other reps and being like, phone John at ABC, he'll be able to talk you through what we're doing. Or, hey, I was talking to the other day at the trade show, that's why I'm following up this phone call. They know that you're in the business. They know that you're not going to be a one-hit wonder that disappears. Wholesale's all about consistency. And they want consistent customers, not a one-hit wonder that's going to be more hassle setting up an account and then they never hear from you again.
Interesting. Okay, fantastic. I think the interesting thing I'm picking away from that as well is that it sounds like wholesalers are a lot more aware of Amazon. They understand that, they're open to it. But I'm guessing obviously there will be wholesalers who are like, sorry, we don't deal with Amazon, but that's just the nature of the business. You're not going to open every account up, but they're now, you're saying they're happy to accept it, but also some of them are just asking it up front, what's your Amazon storefront? Yeah,
so someone will ask you up front, what's your Amazon storefront? They'll have a look through it. I had one brand knock me back because I wasn't selling all their lines. And I was like, yes, that's why I want an account, because I'm not selling all your lines. So I didn't understand that one. Other ones will flat out say you're an Amazon seller, we don't want to deal with you. You can try and rebuttal it a bit, but most times if I'm speaking to somebody in person and that's their standpoint, I'll thank them for their time, wish them all the best, say, listen, can I reach out to you again in a couple of months and see if we can do business on maybe items you're looking for clearance, and they'll be happy with that. But coming across as the desperate, petulant child that's begging for scraps at the table isn't going to have you working from a core position, and I don't bother with it. I have just thanked people and walked away from trade stands for that reason. I think that shows a bit more integrity than sitting begging and pleading for an account. Yeah. And then you get the account, you realize their margins aren't workable anyway. So if that's their company's policy, accept it, smile, thank them, wish them all the best, keep it conjovial and just work on.
It's just business, no hard
It's things. All business, yeah. They're not going, nah, Mccaffrey, I don't like him, we're not opening an account with him. They don't care enough about you to have that personal vendetta. It's just company policy and they're an employee and they have to follow it. So accept that and respect it.
Fantastic. Okay, so bonus tip already given out. That is, be careful about who you take your advice from.
Yes.
Top tip, or should we say issue? My God, what was it? Necessity number one that you don't really need is a website. Yeah. So what about number two? Tell us about that.
Number two is the brand. So people need to think, it sort of follows on from the website that you need a brand, you need all this, and there's many, many things a brand can do, and there is wonderful benefits to having a brand, and it is something that you should consider. However, it is not necessary for getting started in wholesale. If you're doing a couple of million a year turnover and you're like, hey, we've got access to these items, let's set up a brand, let's do our own things, great, fantastic, something I'm looking at myself. If you are saying, OA is going well for me, but I'm reaching a glass ceiling, I'm doing the same sort of revenue for the last 3-4 months, I want something different, I want to move into wholesale, you don't have to start developing logos. You don't need graphic designers to design tons of websites for you. You need volume suppliers. So go direct to the manufacturer, go direct to wholesalers and be like, guys, I want an account. And sometimes it's that simple. You're like, I'm selling some of your items, I'm buying them retail, there's margins on it. However, I can't get the right paperwork. I want to do this legitimately. I'm not have a go hero run out of my bedroom. I'm a company that's growing. We've done well over the last year. We have capital to spend, and I'd like an account. And most wholesalers would be like, okay, let's talk. Because you're saying, I've got cash, I want to open an account. So you don't need a big brand to get started. You really don't. I don't have a brand. I have 5 wholesalers coming this week. On the way over here, I got a phone call from a very sleepy wife who was like, hey, somebody just showed up. There's a pallet needs offloaded. What are we doing? Because she's not the best on a forklift. Made one phone call. Somebody showed up to our house, unloaded pallet, put it in, closed the door, went away again. Wow. And you're like, great.
Okay. So if we just clarify, you talk about you don't need a brand.
No.
Are you saying, like, let's say, for example, I'm called ABC Tom's distribution company and I'm buying from a wholesaler. Is that what you mean by a brand? Like, I need to be a big name in the buying game before I can start contacting wholesalers?
So ABC is your company name, it's your registered company, that's fine. But what you don't need to be is, you don't need to be Tom's Bargain Gifts on Amazon and have the logos and the labels and be like, hi, we want to buy your item, we're going to put it with this other item, we're going to make a unique gift and add value. And yeah, it's fantastic, and there's so much you can do there, but it takes so much time, it takes capital, it takes money, it takes staff. If you're starting out, if you've just yourself or one or two VAs and you're wanting to get into wholesale, trying to go down that route, your overheads will kill you before you get started. Within wholesale, there's a couple of things that matter. One, it's your relationships with your suppliers once you get them going. And secondly, it's all about volume and efficiency. Yeah. Get it going. So
that's interesting. I think, you talk about you don't need a brand, i.e. like, I don't need to create Tom's products range and use wholesalers. What do I take away from that? I take away from that, like, actually, your job is to keep it simple.
Yes.
Keep it simple and do volume. Yes.
Like, it goes back to the common topic of people saying, oh, I need an Amazon specialist accountant. No harm to any Amazon seller. You're nothing special. You're a retailer. You're just a corner shop, but you're now selling on a digital platform. It's not complicated. You've cost of stock, overheads and expenses, and what you've left is your profit, and you pay your taxes on that. It's simple, and it's the same when it comes to wholesale. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Instead of buying the clearance items out of Tesco's, you're buying a pallet load of it out of a wholesaler, prep it the same way and send it in. That's what you need to do.
Interesting. Okay, fantastic. So let's recap. Bonus tip at the beginning, that was be careful of where you take your advice.
Yep.
Don't listen to all the gurus. Choose your advice carefully. Number one, which was the first tip you're looking at, is you do not need a website. Number two is you call it you do not need a brand. I'm calling it keep it simple, stupid, and I'm stupid. Yep. It's a volume game. You don't have to go to VAs, everything else, all this custom labels, logos. It's just keep it simple. Third, final misconception about wholesale. What's that?
Is that you need to have a big, complicated setup to get going. My first wholesale order, I can remember it coming. It was one blue pallet, and I was so buzzed with it. And I literally had no way of getting it off their lorry. It came in a tail lift, and I still have a picture of it somewhere. They put the pallet on the tail lift of the lorry. They lowered it down to the level of my dad's car trailer, and we managed to shimmy it across from the tail lift of the lorry onto my dad's car trailer, and then we drove it up the lane to my parents' house on a car trailer, and we had to tie it to the trailer so it wouldn't fall over. So I had no forklifts. I now do. I had none of that. I had no big warehouse. It was literally moved my dad's car out of the road in the corner of the garage, and the prep table was a couple of planks on scaffolding, and you wedged it up with pieces of paper to stop it rocking, and that's what you prepped on. And laptop sitting on a bench, printer, a set of 3-step folding step ladder was my seat, and just labelled from there, the boxes were crisp boxes out of Tesco's, and that's how I started. Wow. That's how I started wholesale. It was no big grand. It wasn't a 20,000 square foot warehouse, 10 staff, taking out a couple $100,000 of capital loan from the bank and get started. It was none of that. And it's hard work at times. It's not traveling around Mexico and whatever city you're in today, Thomas, and outsourcing everything. You can outsource it all. Of course you can, but that eats into your margins. And I was very confident or very conscious of my margins when starting. I remember when I did the 3K challenge with Al Carton, and that was a massive slap in the face because I didn't know my numbers, and some of the things I was selling wholesale looked great, but I was losing money hand over fist on them. So it was, right, learn your numbers, get efficient, get the volume going, move it fast.
Wow, very, very interesting. And I think you talk about it is you don't need a big setup. My kind of takeaway from that would be stop worrying about all the things, just JFDI, just do it.
Yeah.
And I love how the fact that you talk about I haven't got a forklift and I've heard stories of people I had 3 pallets turn up and I'm on the first floor. So we had to handle everything upstairs. This is the hustling mentality. You just have to do it. Get started.
Well, here's the thing. You've set up a company. You're an entrepreneur. Yes, you can talk about your VAs and your teams and your staff and all that. But I'm currently sitting in Manchester. A pallet arrives at my warehouse. I get the phone call because it's my responsibility. Not at a level yet where I've got a warehouse manager who it's their fault, their responsibility. It still comes back to you. If you want to be the entrepreneur, if you want to be the one that has the rewards of having a business, you have to be prepared to put in the effort. Yes, it's great if you're starting with a couple of million and you can just set up big warehouse, set up staff from day one and get it going and you sit back and take the benefits. Great. Most people don't have that sort of privilege. Yeah. So if you want to get it, you have to want it, you have to earn it, you have to do the 11 o'clock at night and you're still packing boxes going a 9 to 5 in Tesco's would be much easier. But those short-term hustles is what leads to the long-term benefits.
Definitely. And I think I see the interesting one. It's like, you always see these memes where it's like, I left a 40-hour-a-week job so I could work 80 hours a week. Oh. You know, like, welcome to entrepreneurship. This is what it is, and it's hard, but we have to go through that. You know, that's part of the hustle. That's part of like building a business. It's never easy.
Well, Luke always talks about the 4-hour work week and how much effort he puts into Amazon, and I keep sitting going, yeah, it's all lies, because Luke doesn't put any hours into Amazon now. But when he first started, he was doing it all himself, and then he very quickly put systems in place. If anybody thinks Luke's Filer works 4 hours a week and spends the rest of it by poolside, he doesn't. He's just working the other 90 hours on different endeavors. Yeah. He's not putting it into Amazon, but I couldn't switch off. I'm a workaholic. Yeah. I'm absorbed with it. And I'd actually think that's to my detriment at times, because the best thing that's happened to me in the last year for my business was going away on my honeymoon, because it forced me to take a step back out of my business. And the minute I did that, I seen things that I didn't think were going well were going smoothly, and I was just micromanaging, and things that I thought were going better needed work, and I could then be like, okay, that's an issue. Let's work that out. Fantastic. So you were able to get a more visionary architectural view of your business once you stepped out of it.
I understand. Certainly, as she says, entrepreneurs, obviously, I talk about the hustle, I talk about the, leave 40 hours to start 80. It's just the very nature of who we are. We just work.
Yeah.
So if I just recap, bonus tip first, that was quite simply, be careful where you take your advice from. Pick your mentors, your people you look up to carefully. Make sure they're in the hustle, they're doing it, but also as well, they're open. Transparency is really key. Transparency, open honesty is very good. So the first one for you said you don't need a website, and we talked about how to overcome that, and actually, money talks. I really agree with that. So the second one you talked about, you don't need a big brand, and for me, I take away from this is like, just get started. I call it JFDI, just do it. And the idea is this: stop worrying about the logo, stop worrying about building all the I need to create custom bundles and do all this. Is your job is to keep it simple and scale volume. That's it, especially in wholesale. And the third and the final one you talked about now is, don't worry, you don't need a big warehouse, you don't need all the equipment, a forklift truck, all these things. It's cool. I'd probably say come back to the JFDI and the fact that it's about get the order, get it in. If it means you've got to handball it off the lorry, if you've got to tow it to your dad's garage, that's fine. Yeah. Get started. Start making the money. That's the important part.
I'd also throw in another bonus tip of be careful how you spend your money, because I've yet to meet anybody with infinite wealth. So you're always going to have a budget to work on. I have seen competitors and they're like, I went and bought this brand new today and went and bought this brand new today, and it's going to help and it's going to scale things. And it does. But my first pallet truck cost me 35 quid. And it has been going for the last 3-4 years without issue. And I know people I needed a pallet truck, so I spent 275 quid plus VAT. And you're like, why? That's 250 quid you could have put into stock in difference. So my pallet racking, bought it from a local company, but it's still second-hand racking. It does its job, and it's just being cautious about what you put your money into. Now I'm a wee bit more in a position where I can put money, my printer started jamming start of the week, fixed it, it jammed again an hour later, and I'm like, right, that's a warning bell, straight on to Amazon, bang, latest model, Prime. I need it. That's a bottleneck in my business, and I'm not waiting until it's a big problem I've identified to just throw money at it. I'm in a position where 165 quid for a printer is nothing. The first printer was bought for me as a gift because I was like, no, I can't afford £60 on a Dynamo printer. So a friend of mine was like, I'm investing in your company, here's a printer. So that is how I've come in the last 4 years, where I was like, no, I'll just laserjet printer, 27 up pages. And now it's like, right, that's a bottleneck in my business, but that's not where I started. I didn't start by throwing 165 quid at a Dymo printer.
Definitely. No, I certainly know that. You don't need all the fancy equipment.
Don't need the fancy equipment. Basics, couple of boxes, tape gun, put money in a tape gun. My God, put money in a tape gun. Don't buy the $3.99 ones, pay the £16 for the
That's the one thing.
That is the one thing. You can never have too expensive of a tape gun unless you've got the electric button ones. They're £400, they're crazy. But yeah.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I know obviously you're a busy man and obviously on the road to doing 750,000. Yeah. So that's the goal for this year. Tell me about next year. What's the goal? Where are you planning to be?
Double it.
Oh, wow. So like 1.5 we're looking at?
1.5.
7-figure seller?
We'll come back to me in a year. But yeah, my goal, I set out my goal for this year on New Year's Eve last year. It was a nice quiet time for me. That's when I done it. And I wanted 750 this year and 1.2 next year. Seeing the rate of scale we're at the moment and the systems we have in place and where the bottlenecks are and what our main problems are, it's just, if I can overcome them issues, I should be able to do 1.5. And what I would rather do is say, right, we're going to aim for a crazy target and fall short, and go, we're going to aim for a safe target, achieve it, and be like, could I got more?
Yeah.
Could I got more?
Definitely. No, I certainly understand. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, or should they find out more about what you're doing, what's the best way?
My phone's usually glued to my hand. I'm easily found on Facebook. I'm a member of IGN Entrepreneur. So if you get in touch with IGN, you'll get me pretty handy there. Or just my personal Facebook page. I love helping people. I do it too much to my detriment. I've seen me messaging people at 3 a.m., 7 a.m. Yeah, if you need anything, if you want help with wholesale, reach out. I'm sure I'll get you help.
Fantastic. And what I'll do is, if you're watching, just have a look down below in the description. I'll drop a link, obviously, to the profile and the group. So have a look in the description so you can find that. Eamonn, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Honestly, it's really nice to see. And I look forward to hopefully coming back next year and seeing the 7 figures, 1.5, hearing the journey, and perhaps maybe some more things, misconceptions, and obviously what you've learned as well on that journey. But for myself, everyone watching, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.